on which I have connected using RDP protocol, and this is our ESXi server that I'll be connecting to. Username and password. Just click on login, and here we can see this is our ESX server, and here are the resource pools. I have created 3 resource pools. One is common to the environments. Let me just open them all up. So this is the kind of infrastructure that I'll be creating and displaying you how the things work. So these are the 2 virtual machines which have access to the servers in India, US, and the internet. The if I'm talking about the word internet, this is actually my LAN environment which has direct access to the internet. So in case I have to go to the internet, I'll be going through it. So in my virtual environment, I have created a network 192.168.1.0/24, which is going to work as a internet for me for displaying you how the firewall works and how to set up various environments. So we'll learn about all these things. So the first thing that we are going to start up with, let's create a test VM. So you can do one thing, you can just click on the ESXi server or any resource pool under which you want to create this VM. So right now let me create it directly under the ESXi. We can just move the virtual machine anytime. So click on new virtual machine. Let it be typical or custom, whichever you want to specify. Let's use typical as of now. The name of the virtual machine, this is the name that is visible to you over here, like APS spacewalk. Let's give it a name, test VM, and in the bracket I'll provide the IP address so I know what actually is the IP address of this VM. So I'm going to provide it an IP address 192.168.1.208. To keep it short, I'm just typing 208. Type next. Which is the resource pool under which I want to put it? It can be directly placed under it, or I can place it under global internet. Now it is asking me to select the data stores. You can have multiple data stores, and each data store has a disk space present on it. For example, I have a data store of around 926 gigabytes, out of which I have used 224.78 gigabytes. So these machines, whichever has been created, are utilizing nearly 225 gigs of space. So I have around 709 gigs of space which is still free, and the type of file system is VMFS, VMware file system. Thin provisioning is supported, and it's on a single host. So in your production environment, you can have multiple data stores which are providing you hard disks or virtual disk storage. It could be a SAN that you can see over here. So in case one of the data store is filled up, you can add one more data store. We'll have a separate session for that. So as of now, select this data store and click next. Now it is asking us for the guest operating system that is to be created. For example, in our scenario, we are going to create RHEL6 or CentOS 664-bit machine. So we have to select the operating system version. It's RHEL6 64-bit Linux. Click next. Now how many NICs do we want? We can use multiple NICs. Select them like this. But right now I am creating a VM with only one NIC. Okay, let me explain you what these networks are. To demonstrate the complete environment, which we may be doing in next couple of days, we have one DMZ environment for India, one LAN environment for or LAN switch for India, US DMZ, and US LAN network. These are for separate networks, all are terminating into finally into the internet, which is VM network. So I'll explain the things later, but as of now you can understand these are multiple switches in multiple networks. So as I have to get this machine globally and directly should be able to connect to the internet, I select VM network. Adapter E1000 is fine, and it's good to use with RHEL VMs, and it's supported one. Hard disk 7 GB is good for me, but you can select according to whatever you require. Thick provisioning means the hard disk, for example, in this case, we are creating a virtual disk of 7 GB, which says 7 GB will be assigned to the virtual machine right away. And the thin provisioning means the disk will be assigned to this virtual machine as per the requirement. For example, I am installing the operating system and that requires around 2 gigs. So effectively the virtual machine is going to utilize only 2 gigs. However, we have assigned 7 GB, and as per the requirement, the size of the disk will grow up to 7 gigs, whatever we specify. So right now we want to have thick provisioned lazy zeroed, which was the default one, and edit virtual machine setting before completion. So here you can see all the details. It's a test VM, host or cluster. This is my labs.local ESXi server. So I have provided it a name ESX5 or ESX5i actually. Resource pool that I have assigned is global internet, that is over here. Guest OS is RHEL6, NIX 1, and here you can see the complete details. Disk is 7 gigs. Click on continue. Now the first thing that needs to be done is attach a CD to it. So CD, I have already copied the the CentOS 6 DVD into the data store. In the OS images I select it, and this device should be connected at power on. So as soon as the machine is booted, this disk is connected. Virtual device that it is connecting as is IDE, so it'll be an IDE device. Memory, however RAM we want to assign it. So as of now for me 512 MB is sufficient. Number of CPUs, you can select multiple CPUs, multiple cores. For right now 2 sockets works good for me. And yes, that is it. We just click on finish, and here it's creating the virtual machine. The virtual machine has been created. So I just power it on and again right click on it and open console. So here you can see that it is displaying the installation menu. You can select any of the option. I just selected the first, install or upgrade, and just pressed tab so that it displays me the command line. I have to install it using text mode, so I just type text and press enter. Okay, so it's asking me to check the disk. Checking of the disk is going to take time, so I'm just skipping it. Now it has found the media, the installation media, and a conda is running. It says welcome to CentOS. Select language, for me English is there. Select your keyboard, my layout is US, and now it is asking you to reinitialize this hard disk, because uh, it's just giving us a warning that whatever data you may have on it may be lost. So we are okay with it because we have a new disk on it. So that needs to be reinitialized. Time, by default on any of the server, the timestamp should be UTC. So you can see it under etc/UTC. Click on OK, and the other option is system clock is set to UTC. Click on OK, provide it the root password. For remembering, I am keeping it as simple as Red Hat, so you should never keep it. Use anyway. So it has three options: use the entire drive, replace the existing Linux system. That is fine because we don't have anything on it. Write changes to the disk. Now it's creating the file system on it, and it will start installing. Now here you can see that it's creating logical volume. We'll have separate videos for volume groups, but as of now we can understand that logical volume uh, is a partition that you can modify on the fly. For example, your root partition is filled up or where partition is filled up, you can resize it or increase the size of the partition without rebooting or without uh, moving the data from that partition to a different partition. I'll show you how. So let it complete the installation. It is going to take a few minutes, so I think it's fast enough. Let it complete. Maybe it's going to take around 1 minute. (171) out of 209 packages, 94%. In the meantime, let's explore for the menus. File says just close this window. View, enter full screen, you understand it. VM, you can just power it off. Powering it off is something like you are just switching or you are just uh, pressing the power off button. It's an immediate shutdown of a system. So the file system is not unmounted properly, and it can lead to corruption of data in case writes are going on it. You can suspend or resume a virtual machine. Whatever the state of the virtual machine, it will be saved, and as soon as you resume it, it will start from the same state. Reset is just like pressing the reboot button on the hardware or the server. Guest, just send Control Alt Delete, install, upgrade VMware tools. VMware tools should be installed on the virtual machine for better efficiency. And the other thing that you will see after installing the VMware tools is the ESX server or ESXi server is now knowing the details of the client machine, the IP address of it, and other details. I'll show you. For example, we have a virtual machine infra. Here in the summary you can see the details. VMware Tools is running. It has the details of RAM, CPU, the IP address details, which are generally not visible to the virtual machines in which VMware tool is not installed. Let us just reboot it. I'll show you. So this is my test machine, and here we come to the summary. You can see the CPUs are there, memory is there, you can see it, memory overhead, you can see that, but VMware tools is not yet running, so it's not able to determine the IP address, DNS name, and other details. Now we have a test VM ready. The first thing that we need to do is to install VMware tools on it. So how do we install VMware tools? I just go to VM and say install upgrade VMware tools. Now okay, what this step has done is I just clicked on guest and then install VMware tools. This attached a CD corresponding to the VMware tools of CentOS 6 64-bit to this virtual machine. And now if I mount dev CD-ROM to media, I will see in the media that VMware tools.tar.gz is there. Why did it come? Because I attached guest and then VMware tools CD. Okay. Now I move to TMP and untar it. Okay, I have untarred it. I move to the folder VMware tools and VMware tools, and then there is one install file. Oh sorry, VIM is not found. Okay, we can use VI, but VIM looks good to me. Here it says to install upgrade VMware tools for Linux, run the program VMware tools VMware install.pl. So here, so it says Perl is not found, so we have to install Perl. So let me eject the CD corresponding to it and attach. Okay, it says it has a guest operating system has locked. I'll have to unlock it first. So disconnect anyway. No. Okay, now I can disconnect it. It has been unmounted, and VMware tool install, and I move to edit settings, CD drive, and click on connected, and then OK. Now my CD which is attached is corresponding to CentOS 6.3. Dev CD-ROM, mount it on media, and here it's mounted. So first step is done. The CD corresponding to CentOS 6.3 has been attached to it. The second part is we will have to configure yum repository so it uses the files or the repository from /media. Move to /etc yum.wrappers.d, and here you can see some files. CentOS base, debug info. These are different repositories that fetch the yum packages from the internet. I'll create a folder disabled and will move all these files to disabled. That is fine because disabled folder cannot be placed inside it. So now I'll move CentOS media to /etc yum.wrappers.d. Oh, yum is still not there. Okay, I'll work with vi. Now the name is C6 media CentOS release, and the base URL will be media because I have mounted the CD on /media. I just delete the line and mark it as enabled equal to 1. Now if I see in /etc yum.wrappers.d, there is only one file, CentOS media.wrappo, which is having the repository URL pointed to media. So, and media has already been mounted. I'll install Perl now, and VIM for my convenience. It was just asking me to confirm the keys, GPG keys. We'll have a separate chapter for them. Okay, so let's come back to the installation of VMware tools. Just run VMware install. It'll ask you where to install the binary files. User bin is fine. Directory contains any directories. Let's keep the things default. Which directory you want to install daemon, user has bin. Which directory you want to install library files. Let's keep all of these defaults. And in the meantime, we can have a look at this. It says VMware tools is not installed. Let's keep all the variables default. And now after it has installed the libraries, service, it's going to create, here it says, yeah, so finally it's creating init rdboot image for it. Now here, as of now, you can see that VMware tools is not running, but as soon as the service starts running on it, you will see VMware tools is running. It doesn't display IP address or other details, DNS name as of now. So what was the name that we provided it? It's test VM. So let's configure the host name first of all for it. Moving to etc hosts, IP address 192.168.1.208, name will be test vm.labs.local, or canonical name is test vm. So this entry will understand that these names belong to the IP address 192.168.1.208. But to set the host name, how do we set it? Moving to /etc sysconfig etc sysconfig network. Here hostname can be set, and my hostname is test vm, and my domain name is labs.local. local scripts if cfg eth0. So this is the file that displays or that allows you to configure the IP address corresponding to eth0. Device is eth0, boot proto, none is fine. Network manager controlled. On the servers we don't control them through network manager, so let's mark it as no. On boot, whether to enable this interface at the boot or not, it should be set to yes. And IP ADDR 192.168.1.208 netmask 255.0 gateway 1.1. So these are our network settings. Three important parameters: IP ADDR, netmask, and gateway. Hostname is specified in /etc/sysconfig network. Let us just restart the networking service. Now let me see if config, and it says IP is there. Now we have set the IP address, we have set the host name, we are missing one thing: setting the DNS names. So DNS names can be set as name server. My DNS server is 192.168.1.1. The second one I could use is public DNS server 4.2.2. I just write and quit, and now my networking is configured. Hostname has been set, IP address has been set, DNS servers has been specified, so networking is all set. I just reboot this machine now. Here you can see VMware tools service is now stopped. It doesn't know the details like IP address or the DNS names. As soon as it boots up, starts its services, here you'll be able to see the DNS name, IP address. So you don't have to log in into the console of this virtual machine to understand what its IP address is. Here you can see that the name is test VM, or host name is the name of the machine, and -f is fully qualified domain name including the domain name, and hostname -i displays the IP address of this machine. So this is how we install a virtual machine on an ESX server. Thanks for viewing the video. Have a good day.